Welcome to Scene Change, a podcast by the National Federation of the Blind Performing Arts Division. All about equality, opportunity, accessibility, and the arts. Here, you'll learn adaptive techniques from performers in the know. We are changing what it means to be blind, one stage at a time. Thank you for joining us today. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Scene Change. I'm Lizzie Muhammad Park, the Vice President of the National Federation of the Blind Performing Arts Division, and your host of the show. Today is our Valentine's Day episode. We've invited a couple, Andrew and Maura Kutnayak, from our New York affiliate, to share their experience doing aerial dance together. In case you don't know, aerial dance is a sort of combination between acrobatics and dance. Andrew started to practice the art in 2009, and Maura joined him a few years later. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
We're glad that you could make it today. Can you describe a bit about aerial dance, what it looks like, what it is, and be very descriptive about the visuals in case we have listeners who have never seen it?
So the apparatus itself is just two long pieces of fabric hanging from a point in the ceiling. It could be 20 feet high, it could be 40 feet high, but the silks drape all the way down to the ground. So that's where we're starting. As you perform, you climb up, you wrap yourself in this fabric, and then you can spin, you can do flips and spiral from the top down to the bottom. It's quite a spectacle.
Mm-hmm. You make different shapes. Like, it's very moldable, you know? I mean, it really is. I don't know if anyone remembers those nightgowns that, like, my mom had multiple nightgowns, okay, in the 80s, made of this specific fabric. It's tricot. I don't know. It's 1980s nightgown material. That's all I can call it. It's like this very specific feeling to it. So, but it's this satiny, silky material. But so you can do anything with it. It's like there are countless ways you can shape your body. You can do splits and flips and tumbles and all kinds of things.
So is there ever a time when you might be, I've heard, for example, Andrew said you're climbing up the silks. Is there ever a time when you would be just at the bottom of the silk, or are you always sort of climbing up the silks and doing the moves from the top, if that makes sense?
There can be a lot of ground choreography where you have one hand on, and then you can have a toe on the ground and put yourself into a really fast spin. And from there, you might go upside down and into like a split over your shoulder and changing poses while you're spinning and that kinds of stuff.
So do the silks look sort of like two parallel lines, or do they look more like a U shape?
Ooh, both. Well, right. Like, I mean, they are exactly that. They're two parallel lines that meet at the ceiling in a U. So really it's one piece of fabric that's folded in half, and the fold would be at the ceiling, wrapped around a metal, either like a shackle or a piece of climbing equipment, like a heavy piece of metal. So it's sort of anchored there at the top, and then the strands come down, and they are parallel lines coming down. So the U would be at the top, and the lines come down to the floor.
And that makes sense as to why before the show, you all told me that it's not like aerial yoga, because aerial yoga is actually the opposite.
Exactly. Yep, exactly. And, just to complement what Andrew said, I would say probably the most dynamic and interesting aerial performances might involve some floor choreography where you're using the fabric in some way, but you might have your feet on the ground. But then you inevitably are going to move up and down the fabric, for drops that cover a long distance, you're going to go higher, right? But you might be posed, 10 feet up, just doing some different sort of static poses and moves. So you really are probably going to cover the whole length of the fabric floor to ceiling, in a given performance.
Are you interested in knowing what a drop is?
Oh yeah, for sure.
To start with, you need to have a way to lock your body into the fabric so that at the end of your drop, you don't hit the floor and die. But typically you climb up, you can wrap it around your waist and then down your leg, and you climb up a bit higher and hook your leg and then climb up over that. And then, so there's all these different ways of wrapping around you and moving your body around to create potential energy. You're winding yourself up like a yo-yo.
Yeah.
And then once you're all set, you just let go, and you can have your body horizontal to the ground while you're rotating 360 degrees or 560 degrees if you do multiple rotations, like towards the ground.
Oh, like 520 degrees, like double.
Yeah. 520 degrees. Excuse me.
Sorry. I love hearing Andrew talk about this. Sorry, no, not sorry, but this is so sweet. Anyway, okay.
Yeah, no, so this sounds really cool and complex. Could you all describe another common you guys said that there's all these different body shapes. Could you describe another common body shape that is often seen on stage?
Splits are very common. So you might have so again, we've got the two strands. So you might have one sort of tied to each foot, and you're up, however high you could be, 2 feet off the ground or 20 feet at this point, but you have one around each foot. And you can do a split where you've got, one hand on the fabric that's on your front foot and one hand on the fabric that's on your back foot. And you're doing a split so that your legs are totally parallel to the ground. And you just, so that's a very common pose because I don't know, people seem to like that. Can you think of another?
Oh, there's all sorts.
I know. Back bends.
There's back bends in different configurations. There's one called half Monty where you wrap both of your legs separately and then you roll over yourself going forward. And so you're upside down, but also in a back bend with your feet over your head.
Yeah.
That's the half Monty.
Yeah.
Let me clarify this. So you said you are upside down, but in a back bend?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
So the moon, a moon crescent shape?
yes.
So if your head's at the bottom of the crescent, your feet are at the top.
Right.
Yeah. So that kind of idea.
Okay.
There is a lot of upside down. I guess that's you could just say that as a common thing is like to be upside down. That happens all the time with the fabric.
Wow.
Yeah. Hanging from your ankles.
Yeah.
You can fall into your ankles hanging upside down. It's really dramatic.
Wow. This is just, I'm just picturing all of this and it just seems so cool. Andrew, what made you want to get into this style of dance?
I hadn't even seen it before I tried it because it's typically something in Cirque du Soleil. But it was a friend of a friend that happened to be teaching it downtown in one of the Shays buildings. And just wanted to try it out. It sounded interesting.
Shays is a big local theater here. It's like our biggest sort of where the touring Broadway shows will come to Shays. So there was like a little mini theater there that they were doing it.
I see. And Maura, what made you want to join after you heard about all this flipping upside down, doing splits in the air?
So I had done various types of dance. I did belly dance and I did burlesque, and okay, so honestly, part of it was that I was just jealous. I really, Andrew was doing this very, very cool thing, and it felt impenetrable. It felt impossible, because really the upper body strength, is real. I had none to start with. So part of it was almost just vanquishing something, like achieving something that seemed impossible, because it really I had very little to speak of. Anyway, so it was the challenge, and then to just join Andrew in something that seemed so exotic and beautiful, and yeah.
Wow. And you mentioned strength. For the beginners who are thinking about this, are there any sort of muscle groups, or I mean, it seems a little bit scary. Is there a certain level of fearlessness, or like maybe it's not scary? What does it take to be able to participate in this?
For beginners, you can just hop right in and try a class out when we don't have COVID and things are open. But yeah, the bar to entry is pretty low. If you want to do things that are more advanced, you definitely are going to have to be working on your upper body strength and
Pull-ups.
your core strength as well, for sure. You have to, yeah, you need those pull-ups, and you need to do lots of planks.
So Maura, you're a blind woman. And it's so funny because I'm sure that as people are listening to this interview, they don't know who's blind. And I love that. But it is Maura. So how did you sort of jump right into this? And how would you recommend that other blind people take this leap of faith and say, you know what, this sounds cool, I want to go for it? How would they go about contacting a studio and getting their accommodations, and what accommodations might they want to ask for?
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. So just to let's see. I'll start with the narrow end of the answer, which is I had total faith. Well, okay. I mean, it was scary, but I really trust Andrew, and he has taught me most of what I've learned. And so, having that trust, is just really important. I mean, I think at times he wasn't as I don't know, firm with me about like I don't know. Sometimes I wish he had yelled at me more to do my pull-ups, like, because I would just be like, whatever, they're hard. I don't know. Like, it's when it's your husband, you may not quite approach the situation the same way. But total trust there. And we don't try this at home, but we had a rig. We had a fabric hung in a tree in our backyard. Highly not recommended. So, but just that's like, do not ever do that. We learned later, and over time we've actually like made it the setup more official. Don't worry. Lots of trust between Andrew and I, and patience and one-on-one interaction. And I would say that to zoom out for the more broad end of the answer, contact multiple studios, try to communicate directly with, sort of the head teacher or the studio owner, and just, to ask lots of questions. The beauty of aerial classes. So I've attended, like I said, Andrew's taught me most of what I know, but I've also attended lots of group classes. And the beauty of it is that it's you and your apparatus, meaning your fabric, and you get a lot of individual attention, because this is not like a way that we are used to moving. None of us are accustomed to moving this way. So like the teacher will demo something on their fabric. They'll usually describe it and do it at the same time. But then they also most often give everybody a little bit of individual attention, showing people what to do. That naturally makes it inviting, I think, for a blind person, because you likely will be getting attention along with everybody else. It's not the same, because people are picking things up that I'm not from afar. But
so Andrew, coming from the perspective of an instructor or assistant, are there any descriptive words, or I heard you guys using, the degrees of a circle, and then speaking about different dimensions of space. Are there any other keywords or descriptions that might be helpful for people to hear?
Starting off with the basics, you tie the fabric in a knot, and you just have the person put it on like a backpack. So, your arms are through the fabric, and you can just hang right there and bring your knees up, hold a tuck. The tuck position is definitely something we use a lot. There's just lots of technical jargon that I feel like doesn't mean much.
I think too, just left and right, like put your left foot here, and there's also a lot of hands on, like the teacher might put your body, like might move your leg or show your body where to go. If because it can get confusing if you're upside down and someone's like, move your left foot this way, and you're like, wait, my what, where? Because you're upside down and it's not, but so like sometimes they might touch you. And that's the thing too. I think you're going to learn everything pretty low to the ground. So there is a physical, I mean, you don't have to be touched, but that is one way to communicate the information, is to just be to be shown.
That made perfect sense. And actually, you know what, that's good, because I was wondering, I think my perception was that it would be described first and then you'd be going up into the air and then they would kind of edit it from there. But it makes sense that you are sort of learning it on the ground as you would with any dance class.
Yeah.
And then as you get better, I'm
Mhm.
assuming you go higher and higher. Is that how it works?
Exactly.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
And to connect to what Andrew said, like when you get, I think, Lizzie, you and I talked about this when you were thinking about belly dance,
Mm-hmm.
and how like once you have a certain set of vocabulary down, in a way, like now then it's a matter of combining different vocabulary terms. So like they might say, okay, do a left knee hook and then a thigh hitch. And so maybe you've never done that combination before, but when you hear those things together, you're like, okay, I know what those things are, and you can knit them together. So that's some of it. Like as you get more advanced, you can hear those terms and know what to do with your body.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. The two of you have definitely given everyone something to think about and to consider, especially as things start to open up and hopefully COVID starts to wind down. It's definitely something that people can consider participating in. So now I want to move into the more sort of like Valentine's Day aspect of having the two of you here. It's really cool that you have this bonding time that you can spend together and practice art and do something that's really cool, and just it's a different, it adds a different dimension. So could you guys tell us a little bit about your personal story, maybe like how you guys met or like how long you've been married or something like that?
What should I say? Okay, I'll start. Okay, we met in a coffee shop like 15 and a half years ago. And so well before Ariel was part of our lives. And we met through a mutual friend. I was with a friend. We walked into this coffee shop and that friend recognized Andrew. They had known each other, in the past. And I was like, ooh, he smells good. And the rest is history. 3 children later. So really, just get that Burberry cologne and that's all you need.
I mean, that's what I thought when he first came into the Zoom meeting. It's like, wow, he smells great.
Yeah.
Nice shit.
Yeah. You can tell from the voice how they smell.
It's
true.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess it's amazing to see Maura progress and work so hard to gain every little inch of strength that she can get. It's a long process, and to see that is really a beautiful thing. Yeah, it's all about that. It's all about the journey.
So you're talking about specifically that my like every shred of progress I made with the aerial fabric or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But so you're not talking about like the first moment you saw me and your heart skipped a beat and everything like that. You forgot to mention that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That all happened.
Cool.
So what is the place that Ariel's had in your lives, and as a way to, maybe as like a stress reliever or something more along those lines? How has the art been able to maybe like enhance other, like maybe like communication, for example, is something that's been enhanced? I don't know, I'm just throwing ideas out there. What's been your experience practicing an art together?
Like first, the way I feel when Andrew's performing, even though I really cannot like see what he's doing, but when he gets up on the fabric, like, and we've had a fair amount of performance experience together. We've performed a lot, and like whenever he goes up to perform, I don't know, I get so happy. It's just it's kind of crazy because I really can't like appreciate his art, but I know, from feedback and just from his personality and his choice of music, like he's a beautiful dancer. And it just like is so and like strong. I don't know. It just makes me really happy. And so that is just like a pure emotional response that I get. And like definitely communication is for better and worse. You know, there are times where you might be bickering while you're practicing. And, it's totally, and like, it's like, why didn't you tell me I was supposed to, like, whatever, I don't know, do this or that, wrap the fabric 3 times. I don't know. But it's like, it's everything. But it really is like, particularly we had started taking classes together when gyms opened up for 30 seconds here in the summer and fall. And it was just really nice to get in the car and go away from the children and who we love so much, and just like have that thing that felt like it was just for us to do, and like, I don't know, feel like magical unicorns.
So, what have the two of you been doing to stay strong while you are unable to be in, to practice in the studios? Pull-ups?
Yeah, I recommend pull-ups. I don't do them as much as I should. And we have some silks hanging up in the house, so we climb those once in a while too. Core exercises.
Yeah.
Cardio isn't bad either, for sure.
It is a full body thing, so yeah, you gotta. But yeah, we like remodeled just before our 3rd child was born. We remodeled our house. Oddly enough, we added a human to the family and removed a bedroom all at the same time, so that we put in an aerial fabric point. So now we have like a 20-foot clear story, from the 1st floor up to the attic, basically, where we have a fabric hung. So, ideally we would be climbing that every day or so, but it's not as frequent. But the kids use it, like they just use it as like a swing, because you can tie a knot and sit 12 feet off the ground. So I don't know, that's kind of cool.
No, I was gonna ask you if the kids ever get interested and they're like, hey, like I want to either swing off of it or do something else. I don't know how adventurous your kids are. I would imagine relatively so, given that both of their parents participate in this style of dance. So that was really cool.
Yeah, our daughter in particular is interested, and she climbs here and there, and
oh wow,
but like really they all just kind of use it as like they just sit in it and swing around. It's just kind of a fun, I don't know. Yeah.
No, it is really cool. Like swinging, like, whether it's back and forth or in circles or just,
yeah, exactly.
It's a lot of fun. So you said that the two of you have performed a lot together, and I'd like to hear about some of those experiences. What's that like? What are you two sort of performing at the same time? Is it one at a time? Are these big shows? Or is it just your show? Or you performing with other people? I want to know all of it. This sounds really cool.
I mean, kind of everything you said, but go ahead, Andrew. What were you going to say?
Yeah, everything you said. But in certain situations, like at Buffalo Riverworks, we had multiple fabrics hung from the ceiling there during that festival. What was
Music
that called?
is Art.
Music is Art.
Yeah, gigantic music festival. But this venue, just to give you context, it's on the river, and it's a big, like, I don't even know, restaurant that sits right on a roller skating rink. So it's this enormous arena essentially, and we had points hung there, so we had a lot of bigger performances there because they can just fill the place. And
besides that, we've done some festivals here and there, smaller things, just outdoors. We have a rig. It's basically a 20-foot swing set kind of thing, and you can just stick that in the car and go anywhere.
Wow.
Yeah, so we've done some outside or summer festivals and stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you. I was gonna say, how would you do something like this outside? But that sounds really cool. The idea of having a rig that you guys can just kind of swing from and do your moves on.
It's collapsible. Like it's like basically it's just like a million iron bars that you connect together, and you can make it like however tall or short as you want. I don't know. I haven't thought through how to clearly articulate all of these complicated things.
It's a quadruped.
Yeah.
Gets narrower at the top.
Yeah. swing set is really the perfect. It's that exact shape, but 20 feet tall.
Is there ever a time where the two of you would have your aerial fabric set up like side by side almost and be dancing together, or would it always be sort of one at a time?
Sometimes we do corresponding choreography where we're actually doing something simultaneously, but that takes a lot of preparation. Sometimes we just have one person is still while one person is moving, and you can go back and forth. You can do anything you want as far as how you present.
One of our last performances was at the festival we mentioned, Music is Art. It's a gigantic, just one of those summer festivals where there's like 20, 30, 60, I don't know, innumerable amount of bands and, multiple stages and different types of performances and vendors. So this was at Buffalo River Works. And we were there with a crew of aerialists, I think, I don't know, maybe 8 of us. And so, I don't know, it was one of our last performances that we did together, Andrew. And it was just it felt very in sync. It was really like a beautiful song. And I just remember feeling like, I had no idea. I mean, you were far from me, but I just felt very connected. Like it was, I don't know, that moment is very much burned into my mind. Like the music was great and it was a really good atmosphere. And I felt very connected to you, even though I really didn't know. Like I didn't know if we were actually in sync in any way, but I felt like we were in my mind. Now you just should say like, yes, we were. I felt it too.
He's like, no, actually it looked terrible, but next question.
He
was like, I wasn't even looking in your direction.
Yeah.
You don't have to be in sync there when there's so much going on. There's 1,000 people looking in all different directions because there's one music stage here, one music stage over there. But the presentation, like all together, like just it looks good whether or not you're like doing a synchronized quote unquote thing.
Good point. And you know what, it wasn't even so much that I felt that we were in sync as in like doing the exact same thing, but I don't know, just the vibe and the wavelength. I felt like, I don't know, I felt connected to. Yeah.
No, I totally understand what you're talking about. It sounds just so cool. Could you've mentioned music a few times. For those who haven't been a part of a performance or even attended a performance, could you describe the music? Is there a certain style that that you usually use in your performances, or just tell us a little bit about that, describing the music of it?
There are so many different kinds of music to choose from, and we use them all, really, whether it's hip hop, classical, weird new age stuff, electronica, swing, anything at all. The sky is the limit.
I think we have performed to like all of those things. It can depend on like the performance, like what the venue is, what the the people that have hired you or that have invited you to perform, like what kind of event they're putting on, and what you're in the mood for. Like I don't know, I did a Weezer song one time. I think that last performance that I had referenced, we did Kishibashi is like I don't even know how to classify his music, but that was what we were dancing to that time. But it's really anything you want. You just have to find a way to match the music in some way.
Wow. And you all mentioned swing. I've done a little bit of swing dance in the past. Is it common for the two of you to almost mix forms of dance? So there's the aerial style of dance, but then there's also swing dance. If you're dancing to swing music or hip hop or something else, are you sort of bringing in elements of those styles of dance as well, or is it just something else entirely? And what's your experience been bringing in different styles of dance, if you've done that?
All right, so aerial dance has its like set of moves, which are innumerable, but like the ways you use the apparatus that are specific to it, right? And then there's whatever style you put on top of that. And that is, that's like the way you move your hands or the way you whether you point your foot or not. Like, are you sort of moving, are you using more like ballet body positions, or maybe you're being a little more artistic and, I don't know, just moving your arms and feet and legs in different ways. So it's like there's the baseline of aerial moves, and then there's the romance that you lay on top of it, and that may be influenced by whatever style of dance, you know, is appropriate for the music or you're feeling at the time. What do you think, Andrew?
Yeah, when you're up there, you're constrained. There's only so many things you can do, but that's where the creativity comes in. Because while you may be all tied up, you can find ways to move yourself that the music can tell you just by the rhythm and the emotion that it's hitting you with. You have to be listening while you're up there to know how you want to move.
It feels like the sort of thing where you, like, in order to be safe, you need to keep your body maybe pretty firm and tight. You're using, like you the both of you have said, you're using different expressions to convey, I guess, different styles. So that could be, music or feeling or anything else. Is that right? So you're not essentially like moving like you would in hip hop or ballet. You're just sort of posing as you would in those styles of dance. Is that right?
Not quite. You can be like, you can have a lot of energy. You can be doing things really fast and in different types of timing and rhythm, listening to that beat. There's ways to be really aggressive or be really slow in your motions to give the person a sense of gravity or lightness or just grief. Like, there's so many emotions tied up into the sounds that you're hearing, and you can find ways to make your body show that to other people around you.
Arching of the back, or like the way you move your hands, and like, are they soft, are they hard? I don't know. It is subtle, but it's like, it's something that comes to you, I think, once you know the basic, once you feel safe and you know what is safe, when you're basically supported and you can use your body a lot, and when you can't, you just learn those sort of where those moments are.
So could you describe for our listeners a specific example of how you would stylize the aerial dance? So not the aerial dance itself, but just how you would express it in, say, for example, a more I feel like maybe ballet would be an easier way of doing it, but it could be any example that you all choose.
The first thing that came to mind was a performance that I did to a Balkan beatbox song, and their music is, I don't actually know how they would categorize it. I think of it as sort of having a Middle Eastern and but like sort of hip hop and sort of Middle Eastern influences in it. Like, I kind of belly dance, but with a modern take. So I did a song, and like, in that case, I remember at one point I was, doing like snake arms, which is like, I don't know, I don't really like that term per se, but it's a way of moving your arms in sort of a wave pattern from the one, your arms are extended sort of in a T, and from the fingertips of one arm to the fingertips of another, you're creating sort of a wave throughout your arms. So I was, supported by the fabric. I think I was actually kind of parallel to the ground, but I was doing that arm gesture, just sort of supported at my hips by the fabric. So that's one way you might do it. Or that same piece, I think I was doing some like kind of leg stuff. I was like kicking or like, using my feet and my legs.
Wow. So you and that makes sense too when you guys say that you're not just posing. You are, like, you can still be moving. So you said, for example, you said in that example that you were just supported by your hips. So it's not, it seems like you can wrap the fabric around any part of your body. That's probably a little too general. Tell us more about how you wrap the fabric and where you might typically wrap it, and how that helps to support, the body weight, for example.
There are many ways that we wrap it around ourselves where it's a complete resting pose. You're not even using your hands to hold on anymore.
Yeah.
You're just locked in there. That can take many forms. You can have it just around your waist and locked off around your leg. And then that gives you your arms to move around. Your other leg is posable. You can twist through your back and arch, and you can curl up into a little ball to be small.
Can make a chair. You can maneuver in such a way that you ultimately create a chair for yourself. So, just imagine you're sitting on a swing, but instead of it actually being like a bench under your bottom, it's got like a wrap around one leg, and then you've got a bench under yourself. So you're just sitting there. You could be 20 feet, 200 feet off the ground, wherever, and you've got a little chair that you can do whatever, move your legs, you can do different drops and poses in that position. Like there's a lot. Yeah. It's I don't know. It's like string theory, man. It's in this infinite possibilities.
You can, there's foot locks where you wrap your feet in such a way, and you can stand on your feet, but you're all the way up in the air. You can be hanging from your ankles. It really hurts a lot, but it holds you fine. So you can be hanging upside down from your ankles. Your hands are totally free, and you can spin around in circles. You can grab the tails of the fabric that are hanging and arch up into a scorpion pose.
We're like, ooh, we got to go do some aerial. This sounds fun.
Yeah. No, you guys are making it sound really cool. I have this huge smile on my face because I'm just like, wow, like it sounds so exhilarating. I'm just like, wow, like it sounds so cool.
It's beautiful and it's difficult, and that's what makes it so fun. It's really hard, but after a certain point, it's not so hard. But it's like, that's what, I don't know. That's part of the beauty of it, is that it's like, it's a challenging thing, and makes your brain move along with your body,
Yeah. Unlike working out and just like pumping a machine over and over again, you have like real feedback. You're making progress on something. Mm-hmm. So instead of just working out, you feel like you're actually moving forward.
For me, like my love letter to aerial is like written, on the basis that like, it feels like it will always be there for me. Like with other forms of dance, I felt like not as connected to my medium. I love dancing, and like, I don't want it to, I feel like I'm making it sound like you can't dance if you're blind. And that's not the message.
No. That's not America.
Yeah. Yeah. I just felt like with aerial, because you are always if the fabric is like your stage and your dance partner all in one, and you always are in contact with it. You always know where your center of gravity is, where, how to interact with your medium, because you're touching it, you're manipulating it, you're feeling it. It just feels like it will always be there for me. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. The both of you have talked about gravity, and I feel like I would be remiss to not ask what role gravity plays in this art, and how you feel when you're up there working with gravity. Is that the right way to phrase that?
When you're up there, your connection to the ground is above you.
Yeah.
Because that's where you're anchored. You're anchored above, and below you, there's nothing to support you. So
that's really true. Wow.
The way it's like being on a different planet. The rules are completely different. And before you get up there, you need to be on the ground rehearsing over and over again until you're confident to go up and try something for real. Because when you're up there, there's no forgiveness. You can't make mistakes because there's real danger, like always.
I would say like you can make mistakes, but okay, so like there have been occasions where I like do something weird and suddenly like I am locked in a way that I do not know how to get out of, and I might be like 15 feet off the ground. And you know, at first it's okay, but you can come to a point where you're like scared because you're like, okay, I don't know how to fix this, and I'm sort of running out of stamina, you know. So there is that sort of there are those points of tension where you can get a little scared. And doing a drop, I mean, gravity is probably most acutely felt when you're going to do a drop.
So how do you get out of those situations?
Well, okay, you sweat a bit, and then Andrew patiently and like maintaining a great deal of calm, like tries to describe what to do. So he'll, yeah, like, I mean, I can think it's probably like countable on one hand how many times this has happened where I really feel kind of like scared. But like, yeah, basically he can usually see what, you know, what's gone wrong, where the fabric has went astray, and sort of talk me, okay, like you need to do this with your leg and this with your hand.
Bring your left foot forward.
Yeah.
Take the right fabric and put it around your left elbow.
Yeah. And then put both hands on the right hand fabric. I don't know, you know? Yeah, he'll just talk me through it basically.
That's great. So is there any sort of a crash mat or I don't know, secondary fabric set up and the, you know, under you? What are the safety features that are implemented with this style of dance?
You're just practicing with a crash mat underneath you. If you're doing certain things on swinging trapeze, they put you in a whole harness system to keep you up. But that's a whole nother story, trapeze. Yeah, but for aerial silks, there's just a mat under you, and you practice everything just a couple feet from the ground until you got it down pat.
Wow. That's so cool. What do the outfits usually look like? What do you guys usually wear for your performances?
You can't wear anything long and flowy and pretty like that. It has to be pretty tight to your body. I like to put on a leotard and just some either tights or sweatpants or something like that, because the thing with the leotard is you can get brush burns all over your hips and back and everything.
If you're not wearing a leotard, like, so if you have exposed skin, so that's why a leotard protects you from like your shirt hiking up and the fabric sort of being abrasive on your skin.
I see.
Some people lose their shirts because they're wearing a loose shirt and it gets all knotted up in the fabric and then it rips apart.
Yeah, that can happen.
Yeah.
Well, that's a whole other kind of performance. But anyways, so the leotard, for any listeners who did not listen to our ballet episode, you should go back and listen to that one. But just in the meantime, could you describe what a leotard is for people who are listening who are not yet dancers and have not yet listened to our ballet episode?
Ooh, okay. Imagine if a t-shirt and a bathing suit had a baby, that would be a leotard. I mean, kind of, really, you know, it's like where your shirt and your underwear are one, and then you can put pants over that. You can even, actually, we also often wear unitards, which is essentially your tank top and your pants are then totally connected, one piece. And yeah.
So a unitard kind of looks like a jumper in a way?
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
But obviously better material.
Yeah.
It's usually lycra or something like that.
Cotton spandex, yeah.
You can get cotton. Cotton is nice. What was I even gonna say?
You just pull it on though. You like put it on through the neck hole. Like you put your legs into the neck hole and pull it on up. Sorry.
Right. No zippers, because zippers can rip the fabric and you don't want to rip the thing.
That would be bad. That would be really bad.
But
What
if
was
you're
it?
me, I will just say, if you're me for a performance, you'll probably have like feathers and things and sparkly stuff in your hair, and if possible, sparkly things on the costumes. Like, you know, for your average practice day, you're gonna wear just like cotton leggings and a leotard or whatever. Or but for performance, you know, things get very colorful. I might wear like layered, like a, I don't know, like purple fishnets over green tights, and then have like, I have one sort of sparkly green unitard or leotard thingy that has like a faux skirt. So it's like not too much skirt, but it sort of looks skirty. I don't know. And then I'm like, just so you know, there's sparkles and feathers involved too, everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's so cool. So would that be perhaps a part of your expression? Like if you're doing a certain style of, like, say, I don't know, swing dance, would you do more like the, I don't know, like the feathers and, you know, like different things like that? Or do you just kind of base it on your personal style no matter what kind of music you're dancing to?
I think you style it for the venue, the event, the music, totally. Like it changes. I mean, but I guess, I don't know, certain people probably tend towards certain flourishes over others, I would guess, right?
That's really cool. And I've been told to ask one more question. When it comes to grabbing the silks, are there ever times where you need to grab a very specific part? And if so, how do you do that non-visually?
Okay.
Trying to think of like some sort of weird situation like that.
I mean,
It's all
okay. There might be a time where you're supposed to grab the fabric above your knee rather than below your knee. And I mean, it's hard to describe exactly the context there, but so yeah, you might know I need to reach up above my left knee and grab we call it a pole. If it's like above your, I don't know, if it's hanging in a certain way where the fabric is tight, you call it the pole because it's kind of a rigid piece of fabric at that point. But yeah, so you'll grab above your knee and you know where that is. But yeah, I think that comes down a lot to like knowing your left and your right, knowing which part of the fabric is loose and which part is like tight and bearing weight. And some of that stuff is intuitive and some of that stuff is you're coached, you know, about how to do it. Do you have another way to answer that, Andrew?
Yeah, where you grab is always relative to where your own body is. And sometimes you need to turn your wrist around backwards, or you just need to do your regular swing set hand position or the flamenco style grab. But
I think you answered it perfectly. I think you summed it up really perfectly. Like where you're grabbing is always in relation to your own body, which really helps you just know where to put your hands.
Wow, this is it's so cool. I want to thank you both for joining us today and for describing the complexities of such a visual art. It's just been really, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, cool is not a good enough word, like, you know, to describe this episode, and just how wonderful it's been to hear about this art and be able to sort of not mentally experience it, but get a far better idea than I had of what what it could be like. So thank you for encouraging our audience to take lessons, and for showing them that as far as lessons go, it seems like signing up for it and taking the classes is, especially as a blind person, is not the difficult part. It seems like the difficult part will be the physical. Sticking to workouts and strengthening, you know, the correct muscles and building up a certain level of fearlessness and practicing enough, it sounds like will be, you know, the more challenging aspects of it, but those are going to be the same challenging aspects for anyone. So it's been really nice to watch the two of you play off of each other and share responses and so on and so forth. This has been a really great episode. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having us on your show. It's been a real pleasure. I hope that everybody finds their inner circus freak.
Happy Valentine's Day.
I'm Caitlin McIntyre, President of the National Federation of the Blind Performing Arts Division. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Scene Change. If you like what you heard, be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and visit our website at nfb-pad.org. There you'll find links to our social media, membership, and resources for blind performers. Thanks to everyone who makes this show happen. Scene Change is produced by Shane Lowe, Chris Nussbaum, Seyon Choi, and Precious Perez, with music by Ryan Strunk and Tom Page. Remember, you can be the performer you want. Blindness is not what holds you back. We'll see you next time.